Welcome to Season 8 of A Little Birdie Told Me. I'm your host, Rebecca Horan, and on episode 6, I'm sitting down with actress, mum of 2, and scientist Jenny Lee Dixon. You can't help but fall in love with Jenny and her story. It takes us from Dublin to LA to the Playboy Mansion and back home to Carrickstown, where she was in Fertility for years, and then met her partner, and we discuss her fertility journey to having her twins. It's a really soulful, powerful episode, and I hope you enjoy it. To all my gorgeous listeners, because every parent deserves peace of mind, I'm thrilled to share that this episode is brought to you in partnership with Optimal Follow-On Milk, the #1 follow-on milk brand in Ireland. Optimal Follow-On Milk is a product you can trust. It's specially designed to support babies' growth and development, as it contains calcium and vitamin D, which contributes to the normal growth and development of bone. With over 50 years of dedicated breast milk research, Optimal Follow-On Milk brings science and care together to support your baby's journey. Optimal Follow-On Milk, your life, our science. Important notice: breastfeeding is best. Follow-on milk should be used as part of a mixed diet from 6 months. Please speak to a healthcare professional for advice. To verify number 1, contact the Optimal Care Line. Well, I am so happy to have this lady in studio. Jenny Dixon has joined me on the podcast today. Actor, scientist, mum of twins, mover and shaker, producer, influencer. There's nothing that you cannot do. And I think it's fair to say, from LA to the Playboy Mansion to Carrickstown and back again, you have done so much. Welcome to the pod, Jenny Lee.
Thank you so much. That is such a lovely intro and a lovely welcome. Thank you.
But you have done so much. I mean, I've kind of discovered you in recent years because I kind of watch you having your twins and everything that happened and this wonderful story of hope, I guess, in having your children. But you had this wonderful career before motherhood, where you had told me there that you had a relationship, it wasn't so fab, you retrained as an actor, you really wanted to build up your confidence, and with that, Jenny, you're thrown into this world in Hollywood. Tell me a bit about it.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. It's like you say, I had a relationship, a long-term relationship, we broke up, and just to gain confidence and meet new people, maybe get a new boyfriend, I said, let's do acting classes, that'll work, and I just loved it. And I decided instantly, whatever that was that lit my soul on fire, I needed to get more of it. And then I started seeing like other girls and like, she is so good, I just want to be a good actor. So I bought a ticket to LA and I auditioned to get into a Hollywood school over there. And I ended up in the wrong part of LA at first, close to Compton, and it wasn't where actors are generally based. Okay. And I was not the regular on the block, you know? So I got myself to West Hollywood, and I auditioned for this acting school. And by the skin of my teeth, or by the look of Irish charm, I got a place in it. And I was in this class of like amazing established actors like Keegan-Michael Key, who's presented the Oscars, and he's won like with Meryl Streep, and he was in my class and he was my scene partner. So from an actor who was starting to be in a comedy troupe with Keegan-Michael Key and other girls who were in Vampire Diaries, it was the best room to be in. So I'm very thankful for that, and I believe it is the Irish energy that got me accepted, you know.
I think it's the sass, the boldness. You're obviously brave. I feel it in you. You're very feminine, and you came in and you're so warm, and even when I contacted you, but you're obviously brave and bold, and I think that's what obviously gets you to where you are and gives you tenacity. So you did that, you did well, but you said ultimately, and you know, we joke about the Playboy Mansion and how, is it positive for women and what happened in there, but you were like, well, you know what, the Irish media picked that, found that, and that is what helped me in my career in Ireland. So tell me about that.
Yeah, like I never set out to be known or famous or in the public sphere. I just loved acting and I wanted to be a good actor. And I wanted to get to LA to see, could my personality suffice? Was I enough in a city like LA by myself? Because I had started like attending some parties here and, some workshops, and I wasn't sure if it was me or if it was, the sum of the parts or whatever. So I went to this city by myself and didn't know anybody, and just figured, if I can make it there, phrase, it means that my personality is enough. Yes. My maybe perceived in the past as being a certain personality, if I could make it there. And I'm to this day, so thankful for that city, and I'm so in love with that city because it embraced me with open arms.
Yeah.
I met the most amazing people who've become such great friends. And yeah, then I got media in LA, and I was in stage shows over there. I was in Tayo Cruz's music video, Dynamite.
Oh.
I met like people you just read about in magazines, and I couldn't believe I was just being welcomed into this circle. So I guess it elevated my sense of self because I was just being me, you know? And I was embraced, and I trained, and I was inspired, and I met people from all different ethnicities and nationalities, and it just broadened me as a person, and it made me who I am today.
But it's typical about Irish media in Ireland, you know, it wasn't embracing you perhaps the way it should have, and that's because it's such a small town, right? And we can be a bit in Dublin like, then you go off there and people just see that you're so great and you're obviously good at what you do, and they take you on. And then Ireland wants you back. It's always the way, like, come back home, we're here, we're going to welcome you with, they could see, you know, probably that you were doing well and we wanted you here, yeah?
It has, I guess LA has that kind of glistening, a bit of glitter, doesn't it? It has the palm trees and the surfers and the big glitzy parties and the major celebrities. And I was training as an actor over there, and I was auditioning, and I was meeting Kardashians and, you know, Will Ferrell and major people. And then I had auditioned for Fertility then before I left. Wow. And I worked my ass off. You probably didn't beep that out.
No, we don't need to beep anything out. We can say whatever we want on this pod.
And I worked it like it was a science thesis. Okay. And at the end of that audition, they said, we really liked what you did. We could see the amount of work you put into it, but you're just not similar enough looking to play this family member.
Okay.
So do you mind if we keep you on file? And I went, they're so nice. They're just pacifying.
They're just being nice.
But thank you. So I went back to LA because that same week I'd qualified for the O1 visa, the entertainer's visa.
Great. Where you're an exceptional person, isn't it? You're extraordinary.
Yeah, alien of extraordinary ability.
I'm sorry, someone on the pod has said that before. I'm like, this is amazing.
It's crazy. The
title alone
needs to be a book, right? And I'm just an alien of extraordinary ability.
Yeah.
and ironically, despite qualifications and background and things I've done, because I was involved, I was a Miss Ireland contestant before this. In the interview, they were like, okay, you've got a science degree, right? Okay, you're training as an actor, boring, right? Whatever. And then I said, oh, and I also Miss Ireland finalist, you know, what?
Yeah.
And then because they love pageants, I guess. I don't know, they
are
went
into it.
They went, okay, 1 second. They went back behind in the embassy. They came back out and stamped my visa. And so, again, I'm very thankful for that, you know, and now as a part of the judging panel and that, like, so went over to LA then, had my visa, very thankful for that. And then I was auditioning, you know, $50 jobs, $20 jobs, $100 jobs, sometimes $500 jobs. But they were, you know, there's so many artists over there. And my goal was, could I make a living without using my science degree?
Yes.
Could I make a living as an artist? Like the soul in me, could I pay the bills not using my academics in science? Could I pay the bills as an artist? Could I get good enough doing advertising, modeling, acting, presenting? Could I do that? And I did just about. And then, like, you know, I was getting stressful. I was running out of money, and I was ringing my mom, like, I should have taken another loan. And I said, look, I'm looking at those pictures of, like, the strip club, and it's looking, you know, like I can make a lot of money. She says, well, there's worse things you could do.
Oh, 100%.
And I was like, okay. So there was the lightness to that. And that's part of how I'm so brave, because my parents are both so great.
I love that. There's a liberal, there's a like, do what works.
Do what works.
For you to survive and get through this phase.
I will put out there that I did not join the strip club.
I love that your mum was just like, you know what, Jenny?
No judgments.
You know, I love that.
Yeah.
And you're going to be like that with your girls.
And I have friends, I do actually like to keep that with my girls. And I have friends, you know, who would be in all kinds of spheres and you know, great. That's your art.
You do you, yeah.
You do you.
Yeah.
So I was over there, and all of a sudden I did get a big job, and it would have paid all the bills, and I wouldn't have had to ask for a loan, and I would have been okay for 7 months. And at the last minute, I got let go.
Oh no!
I was like, crushed. So I went over to my friend. He's a producer. He always looks after me. He's like a family member, and I just threw a little tantrum for 24 hours. And then the next day I got a call from RTE saying, we have a new part. Would you like to come back and audition? And my mom said, are you sure you want to come back to Ireland just for an audition? Yes. Before she finished the sentence, yes. And I came back and they had, I thought I was against 8 actresses again. And when I got there, it wasn't against 8 actresses. It was a screen test with Mondo, with George McMahon.
Okay, yes.
Who
was a Fair City favourite. I mean, Mondo was like, everybody loved him. He was the charming dude. Of course. Yeah.
And they wanted to see the remesh, you know?
Yeah.
And I did the audition and I was nervous and I was fidgeting with my straps, which they later said they loved and they wanted the character to do.
Because it showed like that kind of nervousness.
Yeah. So embrace your nervousness, embrace your vulnerability.
Yes.
It's your superpower. So I was fidgety and I was doing the comedy I had trained in. I trained in comedy. I was like, I knew all the rhythms in order to land it. And then they said, okay, yeah, but she can't all be comedy. She has to be able to be fierce and dramatic as well. So I turned around and I took a breath because one producer wasn't smiling and one producer was, but I needed the whole room. I turned around.
You were feeding off it.
Took a breath and went, okay, whatever I learnt in LA, come to me now. Yeah. I need it now.
Yeah.
And I turned back around and I dropped the expression and I gave the fierceness and I dropped all the comedy. And I saw one of the producers nodding, who was a producer of Hollyoaks who had created Carrickstown, and went away. And then 5 days later got a call saying, we will go ahead with the part of Carrickstown and we'd like you to play her.
What? Okay. So we've our strip club phone call with our mum where we're at the lowest, not lowest, but like, you know, Mom.
That's going to be a headline.
Yeah, that's not going to be a headline. But we have a moment where we're like, Mum, doesn't matter what I do because I'm actually the loan, the staying here, but I love LA and I feel like there's a gig. You get the huge gig. That doesn't even work in the end, even though you're good enough. And you come home and you land Carrickstown, which was just
a 3-week contract, but
3-week
contract. But before I went to air, I got the very gracious gift of being signed for a year. So it means as an actor, you can learn where the cameras are, you can learn who the other co-stars are. Because I'd see actors coming in and they'd have one day and they would have auditioned their ass off for that one day, and they're coming in and saying their lines and trying to find the camera. It's so much easier being a character for a year.
Totally.
And in my case, I got signed for a 5-year contract, you know. That's such a gift because you get to play all the storylines, all the drama,
but you're
all
like
the comedy.
Family. You're part of every little nook and cranny. Yeah. You're not just being flown in and flown out.
So when you see that the top actors being celebrated and they have this gift of a 1-year run or a 5-year run or a 10-year run, that's a gift. And you look at the actors who come in for 2 hours for a half a day, they cannot show what they can do. And I have friends who are amazing actors who have never gotten any gifts. And it's such a, as an artist, I have, you know, myself and Tom, we often look, say, at actors on ads or having 2 lines on a TV show and go, they worked so hard to get that. And,
you know, right? You know the struggle, you know the grueling hours that you put in. But I love the fact that Carrickstown will always be part of you, but you're still going to have this long career, illustrious career ahead of you, and you still do. But that lady has shaped who you are. And also, let's be honest, gave you massive beef, tangibility at home in Irish media. You were loved, you were accepted, you were here, right? You landed home. Let's get into this family that you've created, this beautiful, everyone looks to your socials, and let's be honest, to this great content that you create and you know, you show us this beautiful life that you've built, hard work, and you got there. When did you meet Tom? While you were doing Fair City or after?
While I was doing Fair City, so he was a TD for Limerick and I was attending a film festival. I was presenting Best Style at the film festival. And he was representing TD. Mm-hmm. And in the room, there was one guy in a very sharp-looking suit. And I was like, oh. I was actually supposed to be meeting another guy that night. I was supposed to be meeting an actor.
So it's like actor, politician, it doesn't matter.
But the actor didn't turn up.
Okay, well, there you go.
He didn't turn up.
Too flaky.
And I was, you know, I was pretty exhausted. It sounds very first world problems, but filming all day and then a lunch. And so he then asked me, would I like a drink? And I said, Diet 7-Up. Wasn't intending to drink. I was filming the next day. I think I left before he gave it to me. Okay. But we did have a handshake, which resonated. And then, as he would say, he found me on Facebook because somebody he asked wouldn't give me wouldn't give him my number.
Yes, rubbish. Yeah, protecting
and then apparently I ghosted him, but it wasn't the case. I didn't ghost him. It was just I was very busy.
They need to chase you, Jenny.
And then when I went to Limerick, I was presenting the award there, and I said, "Who do I know in Limerick?" oh yeah, that guy, he was good to talk to.
Yeah.
And then I messaged, and we talked for 5 minutes at the film festival in Limerick about comedy and comedies we like and comedic styles we like. And because I was doing a gig there, I couldn't talk too much, and you know yourself, you're being pulled in different directions. And then he said, oh, I'll meet up with you in Dublin. And I figured, okay, country boy, whenever you're in Dublin.
Yeah.
He goes, no, I work there all the time. I work in the Dáil. And because my knowledge of politics at that time was like not a lot.
It doesn't matter.
I was, now I know a little bit more than not a lot.
Yes.
I went, okay. And then we met, and
I kind of love that, even though like it was a slight Facebook variable in there, it was old-fashioned enough. It was like seeing the person, shaking of the hand, having the comedy chats about, you're obviously hugely different people, but yet there was this common thread of like interests. He obviously thought you were awesome, and he reached out to you.
Well,
so it's a love story.
He'd been in Australia, and he came back from Australia after years there, and he watched Fertility to catch up on Irish culture.
So he knew about
and
you?
he saw me on Fertility.
Oh God, he's a devil. So he'd already had research. You had no research done. So you went in fresh.
Yeah.
So you marry the lovely Tom. Of course, Jenny is married to Tom Neville, who was working in the Dáil and is now doing wonderful stuff across London and Dublin and high flying like yourself. But you marry Tom, and you decide you'd like to be a mama someday. Was it something you always wanted to do, Jenny?
Yeah, I guess, yes. Like I originally did a degree in science and specialised in genetics and zoology. And I do have a huge interest in genetics. And I had this thing like, what would my babies look like? And with my babies with Tom, he's so pretty. Like, what would they look like with him? And my genetic nerd part of me was like, oh, they could be like this.
So it's like an experiment. You're like, let's just see what we get from the two of us. But you were maternal or not? Or were you...
Isn't a hard one. Like, I'd never...
It is a tricky one. I always find that question.
It isn't a tricky one because people say to me I am.
Yeah.
And I love having the chats with them.
Yeah.
And I always thought I wanted that experience, and even like say playing roles, I now can play roles where I have that empathy and that of getting there in the first
you're
place.
An actor. You can do the improv sketches, you can set things up. Your playtime must be joyous with them.
I'd like to think so.
It is. You know what I mean? You can. I know when Simone comes to me with the dolly, and even from being in acting school and all of that kind of background, I know we can create worlds from our little. Whereas I don't think I would have had that ability. I didn't have all this experience, and they love those worlds.
They love it. Yeah, it's such there's magic in that, isn't there? When you get it back in touch with your inner child, and you find joy in a teacup that has water in it and a bit of dirt as well, and then it becomes a swimming pool the next second, and then a unicorn jumps over it, and all of a sudden the rest of the world stops, and you're in this land of fairies. And so when you say like, am I maternal? I'm very much in touch with my inner child, and it's such a privilege to be there again.
Best role of your life?
Best role of my life, yeah.
Hardest?
It's difficult, yeah. It's grueling.
Well, okay.
It's grueling.
So we don't need to get into the nitty gritty, but it took you a while to finally have your bobos.
It did, yeah, for sure. And I think it is, the likes, I had to chat with Rosanna Davis, and, a great girl, and I think, she was talking about it when I was going through it, and I was messaging with her, and, and then another girl I know as well who'd have, another following, was using a platform, and I was thankful for doing it, because it gave me that sense of sisterhood, that I wasn't solely going through it. And then I felt, I wrote things down throughout it, and I wrote down that if ever I am successful, I'll speak on behalf of the ones who can't. And the ones who are the warriors are the ones who haven't yet got, and they're not less brave. They're protecting their peace, and they're protecting their energy so as they can perhaps go through the other side.
I would agree with you 100%. I struggled to conceive, and we had misses, and we had a hard old time in a topic, and I've had Rosanna on the pod as well, Jenny, but I had women who I was friendly with who didn't speak about it on Instagram or didn't talk about it, and I would totally agree with you. They are protecting their peace, and they're going on their own journey. I was going on mine. I really wanted to talk about it. I was on a podcast or two, and I think you have been so helpful. So thank you. It ain't easy. How long were you trying?
It was 3 years.
That's hard.
It was 4.
Let's not. Some people get married within the 9 months.
Yeah.
3 years is a long old road.
It was 4 losses and 3 years, and some of those losses were twins. So you kind of send, you know, thankful vibes to them, and you look at your beautiful angels that I have now. But again, like, you know, I did look at, you know, the people talking, but I was one of the silent warriors, and because I was going through it, and I wrote down little pieces of poetry, you know, throughout the journey, which I've never released, but I did promise myself that I would consider talking about it on behalf of the ones who can't talk about it because they're too much in the trenches. And if they talk about it, they diminish their chances of success, because all of a sudden it becomes poor you. Are you okay? Are you there yet? So they can't. So it's sending love to those. And also the message that life is great both ways, you know, whether, because there's no guarantee, right? Like I did IVF in the end. I did various stages. I did with Dr. Boyle. I did various stages, right, of assisted fertility. And in the end, it was IVF, which worked for us. And then the egg split and we got 2. There's no guarantee for any of these paths, right? So IVF worked for us. You know, some other method could work for somebody else.
Yeah.
It can happen miraculously. It can happen if you reduce stress, which is such a paradox, because how can you reduce stress when you're in this stressful situation? But there's many paths to making it work. And if there was one path guaranteed, they'd be very wealthy. So the thing is, we can't guarantee that everybody will get twins. We can't guarantee that everybody will get a child. So the message, I think, is that even if your path in life is not to have a biological child of your own, just to know that life can be so beautiful, is so beautiful. You know, you can go on more holidays. It's less expensive. And
I know you're not belittling it, but there's freedom in that.
I don't mean to overly make light of it, right? But life can be so beautiful in so many different paths, and not to hang up all of your happiness on one result.
Had Tom and you prepared yourselves psychologically and as a couple for the fact that it may not come to pass, right? You may not be blessed. And like, let's be honest, everyone kind of finds that a really contrived word, but you may not be blessed with children. That may not be what happens for you both, but you're going to be a family anyway, and you're going to get on with your lives. Were you preparing for that as the 3 years pass? Because time passes, you start to go, is this going to happen for us?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's financially huge, right? It's a huge financial thing.
Yes.
It's an emotional thing. It drains on your relationship. It drains on your fitness.
Nobody talks about that enough.
Know,
it really hits your relationship.
It does. And
it's all you talk about. You were like, we should try again. I don't know when I'm ovulating. Will we take a break this month? I mean, I found it really hard.
And I think it's different for men and women, you know, because they, you know, we're wired different biologically.
Yeah.
And then, the finances come into it. And maybe men think more that way. Maybe women think more biologically. There's a clash of things. I never entertained it in my head, not in an aggressive way, but in a protect my energy.
Yeah.
I know Tom perhaps had been thinking on different ways it would go. Obviously, my mom is a great support, so I'd chat with her and she'd help me out a lot, and will we go again and so on. It was our 3rd time doing it. That was the successful round.
Tell me about that moment. You have a successful round. It's the 3rd time. You've told me about the depths of kind of, you know, the lows that you went through. I'm sure there was a few highs. You're told you're pregnant with twins initially, or not?
We had done the IVF category where they tested the viability. So it's an enhanced level of security, or you know.
Yeah.
So we knew we had a strong embryo.
Okay.
But then there's the other hurdle. You know, I learned so much science in this. It reawakened my love of science as well. Yeah. Because I delved into the biology of it and the latest, you know, because for a while science was like, okay, fine. Acting, exploring, arts, you know, LA. And then I was like, whoa, the science of this is fascinating. Yeah. What if I stop drinking out of a plastic cup? What if I take this extra, you know, extra supplement? Right. What if I stop doing high intensity workouts? And what if I just do walking? What if I do meditation over shopping? Just myriad of stuff. I was going into a pharmacy telling the pharmacist what strength of everything I needed.
Did you become obsessed?
I read the book, It Starts with the Egg Twice, and it's a scientific book. Fantastic book. did I become obsessed? I became very interested in the science of it.
So we won't say obsessed, we'll say you
Yeah,
were...
I would say very interested in it. So then we had this amazing embryo, and we were in London. And Tom was starting a new position in London with TikTok over there. And I guess before we were in London, I had flown home for the transfer. And you don't know if it's successful, right? Because you got to see, does the transfer work? And then flew back to London. And the day we had to take the tests, the blood tests, which was more accurate than a pregnancy test, I went into a church in London, and I had some moments. And I got the email that day, and it came true that I was pregnant. And I was on my own in this apartment in London, and it was sweltering heat. And it was a very joyous moment. And Tom came home and told him that. And then an extra magic happened when we went there 2 weeks later for a scan. And they said, and how many did they put in? How many? I said, one, and then one. They transferred one. Okay. And then a few minutes later, so you said one? And she said, I'm going to show you what I'm looking at. And she turned the monitor around and said, there's 2 babies in there. I was like, and it was COVID, so we had a mask, but I took the mask down to smile and embrace this moment, and I just started laughing hysterically. I don't know, was it nervousness? Tom's head fell into his hands.
Tom's looking at the budget spreadsheet for the year.
The nurse at one point said, Tom, get up and let her sit down. He was sitting on the chair.
Oh, Jenny.
He zoned out, didn't hear her, carried on sitting down.
Absolutely beautiful news.
And then I told my mum and dad on the phone, the reason why I was on the phone, that there's now 2 in there, that I am pregnant and there's 2, because they were going on holidays. My mum was like, I can't believe it. Every day of her holiday, she has 2.
yeah, she's carrying 2.
Yeah.
Did you find the pregnancy anxiety-ridden, really worried, trying to retain this pregnancy, or did you just enjoy that? And I know that they came a little early. So tell me about
7
that.
weeks early.
Wow, okay.
Neonatal for 7 weeks.
Wow.
So when we went in, my mom got upset, but because I had been on so many joys and crushes and pregnancies and losses, and this is the one, and it goes, because I had been on that for so long. And you feel all the emotion when you're talking about it, right? And because I have talked about it, you can talk about it more, but it doesn't mean I'm not feeling the emotion as well.
I guess that you've told this story, but it's an emotional story.
But you feel it because you're talking about real life and real happenings. But when we went in for the first scan, the consultant said that it's a monoamniotic pregnancy. So mono meaning one, and it means that all twins, 99% of the time, whether identical or not, get their own amniotic sac. So they have their own balloon, they have their own water.
Their little home.
But ours were monoamniotic. So our 2 babies had split slightly later and ended up sharing the one amniotic sac, the one water. And there's a danger that as they get bigger, they would tangle in the umbilical cords, and it's categorized as a high-risk pregnancy. So I was told that in 3rd trimester, I'll have to move into the hospital, and I'll have to be daily watched and monitored. But because what they had learned in COVID was the daily scans do not make any more success than an outpatient or an inpatient, going in each day.
Sure.
So I ended up on the 3rd trimester having daily scans, so going in and out, as opposed to staying there and living there. So they did get to that successful point. And then a week before delivery, I went in and the heart rate dropped. And they said, we're going to keep you. And I was like, I was not mentally prepared for giving birth. Tom was in London, I was by myself. I had not packed the cute hospital bag, you see, the TikTok's doing. There was none of that done. I was crying by myself in the hospital going, you can't deliver now, it'll be 8 weeks ahead of schedule, and calmed down, and they left it another week, or it was actually 2 weeks before the planned C-section.
Okay.
So they ended up bringing it forward a week, but they were all doing fine and everything. And I said to the consultants, who are amazing, Jennifer Donnelly and Ethane, I said, in a gambling sense, or if they're doing so well, should we give them that extra week and go?
I'd be like that.
And they're so happy. Should
let them stay?
And I was, nope.
Okay.
We're taking them out.
Okay.
It's like,
trusting the experts on that. It's hard.
They're real
it's
bosses,
hard.
right?
I know.
These days.
But you're advocating for yourself and your family and your body, and you're thinking, I just want them staying as long. But when you're told, Jenny. And it's hard sometimes to relinquish
But
that control.
I totally respected all the professionals in the Rotunda, an amazing job. And then the neonatal nurses took over, which is just another world, like another... I can only compare it to like something futuristic and sci-fi, you know, it's just like the medicine they have there and the care they have there, and it's so emotional, like, and yes, they had 7 weeks there, and then,
they were tiny.
Yeah. Well, they did great considering they were twins. They were just, so was it 4 pounds?
Okay, wow.
And that was 7 weeks early, you know, so twins born are generally around that, and they were 4 pounds each.
Wow, that's incredible.
At 7 weeks, yes. So they did great. I often think now of how hard was it for them. You know, they put tubes down there, you know, because they had to be fed by tube because they couldn't suck at first, you know. And Bella in particular is so hardy. She falls down, she hesitates and cries a bit, and then she gets up. And
resilient.
And I wonder, Capri is a softer, more graceful, more elegant little personality, but Bella's like bolshy.
She's badass.
And she's badass. Oh, totally badass.
But you're like that. You're probably a bit of both of them.
I think
you're
so,
feminine
yeah.
and soft and beautiful, but you are badass, Jenny.
I actually see my two sides.
I love this.
My dad, Dublin North Sider, quick wit, like whoop, wins any wit battle, and then the more softer side. I see each of my twins representing each side of me.
Wow.
Yeah.
You put out this post, you know, people knew of you, you're an actor, you're well known, you're in media circles, but you put out your post announcing your babies. Well, Capri and Bella were blooming famous instantly. People were just so happy for you both. And I think even in saying this was a hard battle to get here, you hadn't given that much away, but people knew from it. And I think women just, there was just some weird resonance, like, oh yes, she made it. Because it is like Kilimanjaro trying to have a baby. And you had these 2 babies. And I remember you saying, I'm going to give feedback and talk about this when I'm ready. And you had these gorgeous girls. Yeah. How did you find those early weeks, months, the breastfeeding, the 2 of them? Did you just kind of plow on, or did you find it nuts?
It's funny because my brother has just had a baby a few days ago. And I spoke with my sister-in-law. And yeah, the few days after were very difficult. You know, the postnatal depression and so on. And, you know, I played postnatal depression storylines in Fair City, and I played pregnancy struggles in Fair City, and I played endometriosis storylines, you know, and it wasn't postnatal depression, but it was a very, you know, I had an empty cot beside me because my babies were in neonatal, and I had breast pumping equipment. My babies were in neonatal and so on. And I was looked after very well, but I was in a very dark place for a few days after. And I mean, you know, women's health and, you know, maternity has come so far than where it was previous generations. It has come, like, it used not to be good. It used to be rough, from stories I've heard. And I'm grateful for how far it has come. Very grateful. But I've also spoke to people who found it hard afterwards, you know, and everybody has different stories. Like whether you had a C-section, people have difficult births, they have emergency C-sections, they're looking after a baby, the baby is landed on, you know, whatever your individual birth story is. And birth story, you know, we talk about birth stories and there's the baby, but what about the 7 days after? Now, on a lighter note, 5 days after I gave birth, my brother was getting married.
And I heard this. I heard about this.
My sister-in-law was slagging me the other day. Like, I was on a lot of drugs.
Obviously,
okay?
You're like a dirty ride at your brother's wedding 5 days after having twins. I couldn't believe this.
That was thanks to Difene.
You just, honest to God, you were there.
Yeah, and I wasn't planning to. And it was Tom actually goes, I think you'd regret not going to your brother's wedding.
Tom's off his rocker as well. But you were like...
My mom, when she heard, she was like, no, you're not coming to the wedding.
I love that you did that. I think you're nuts. But
my aunties were like, tell her to go to the room and sit down.
You're like, no, I'm here. Yeah. You know what, again, tenacity, braveness. I want to do that. I want to be part of that. I never want to regret that. I loved your piece there about gratitude. I don't think I've as much gratitude, and I think that's something that's a work in progress for some women. I think it was animalistic, barbaric, rough is a great word for women, and it has been. And our women's health system is poor, to say the least, and it's not the fault of the consultants or the wonderful people working in women's health, but gosh, we still have a long way to go. You talk about women who are still, you know, losing their lives on the labour table, or women who are suffering. I know America has such a terrible record at the moment of all of that, as we know, but women who go through traumatic births, women who come out of hospital and they're really in a dark place, Jenny, and then you think about your 6-week check and it's like, how's the baby? Like, where's our physio? Where's our postnatal? So I do worry about that. I'm very grateful for my consultants of what I went through, and I think it's nice you've said thanks, and the neonatal nurses, but God, we've a long way to go.
And maybe, you know, with this dawn of social media and influencers and content creators and people with a platform, like, why do you want a platform? Why do you want a following? What message do you want to give out? You know, what support do you want to give out? What do you want to give back? What, you know, I have so much to give back. I feel I've been so blessed, you know, and with a larger following, like, what's your why? You know, like, why do you want people following you? Down this, like, you know, why to help, to, if you think you have something to say, you know, you're in a classroom with 25 students and now you've got 135,000, you know, like, you better have something to say.
Yes. Why are you at the party if you're just there to be looked at?
And of course, like, people get followings for different reasons, right? And they all serve a purpose, and, you know, societies and so on. But I love that we now have medias and so on to move women's health and to move support and to move, you know, you're not alone. Like, you know, you've had a miscarriage. Let's say that word. Like, you know, now in saying that, loss can be softer, right? You've had a failed IVF or a failed transfer, and I'm so sorry if you know, keep that faith and look at all these other people talking about it, but know they're talking about it and they're no braver than you because they have their babies. So don't forget that, right? I'm not braver than you, you know? Yeah.
That's beautiful. So honestly, and people do look at your platform because you're uber fashionable and you're doing cover shoots and you and Tom leave this fun life, but they are looking as well because you have 2-year-olds, correct?
Oh, yes.
Bella and Capri are two busy ladies, yes? Sassy. Are they foodie? Are they on formulas? Are they on water? Are they big? Like, what are you doing as their day-to-day? What are they like?
They will tell you exactly. They want a peanut butter sandwich.
Okay.
They want another low log.
Yeah.
A low log is a yogurt.
Okay.
Don't know where they get that from.
The language. They're in creche?
They're in creche, yeah. This morning I was saying, you know, Mommy has to go to work. So, no. But usually I'm very grateful for the creche workers. And when I usually they're fine, they go in, they do their arts. And when I collect them on the creche workers, I'm like, thank you. I know how much work they are. You know, thank you. That's a lot of work you did today.
Your independence is stifled as much as you have been there. Like, I remember having my second and being like, whoa, like, you lose even more of your identity and your independence. And there's a lot of loss in having babies. Women, you know, don't talk about that enough. You're a totally new person when you have a child. That's just it, you change, right?
That's a really good point, yeah.
Completely different person. You're bringing about a new set of rules. You have lost a lot of independence. You're in this LA lifestyle. You come back to Dublin. You're this wonderful character. You meet Tom. You have this love story. And your life has changed. Like, inadvertently, we can't even say anything else, but your life has changed. Do you struggle a lot with the lack of independence, or are you embracing the crazy? Like, this is what I'm doing this gig. I'll say yes to this podcast if I can. I'm going to advocate. Or do you find it a struggle?
It's a good question. And I'm learning, you know, every day is a school day, right? So I'll start with, I love acting. Okay. I love it. And I will not apologize for it. Like, I love chatting.
Yes.
You know, I'm loving this conversation. We're making, you know, a piece of art. We're making, you know, there's magic, there's beauty, there's emotion, there's tears, there's laughter. I love making something that people can enjoy. It's such a gift. I don't know why, but I just love it. And I want to be really good at it. And I love it. I've recently wrote a script for RTE. I love writing, but I love acting. Okay, I've set up a film festival for teenagers. I work with the autism units. I love all of these things, but my soul and the artist in me, I believe there's an artist in all of us, is in that world. I also love finding other things, baking, fitness, fashion. I love finding joy in a lot of things. Does it hinder your independence? Yes. If I was wealthy, very, very wealthy, would it hinder as much? Less.
I think so. I think you're completely correct. It's about the privilege that you have.
We probably need to have the conversation that when I see a mother looking stylish and working and
killing
being a kick-ass mother, like,
financially,
they need a round of applause. Like I'm waiting for my trophy when I arrive at places. Like it took a lot, right?
Yeah, to get here today. Like, I got a message from you pre-coming, and I loved. What asshole would write back to you, Jenny? No, we're on a schedule today. Are you crazy? Your kids wouldn't go into crap. I was just like, what? Cool. And then I text you hoping that you'd found the right address. And I was like, and if you'd come in again 20 minutes later, I would have moved all the other things, because it is insanely tough to get them to go in the physical door to other people who are not their mama, to get them out there. Like, I just think the funniest thing is when I had my first kid and I'd gone from being free willy, like it was just handbag off, I popped glasses on my face, to like, how the hell do we get out the door? And then you learn, and then people have 2, 3. Anyone that has more than 3 is a goddess.
But you deserve applause. This is amazing.
100%.
Like, you're doing your shows, you're doing your podcasts, you're a mom, So, I've been reading about this recently, about how, in the past, like they used to have, look at the housewife, she's so glamorous and slender, and she's such a great mom.
The Stepford.
And she's doing it all. Because you're telling her she's doing it all. Get her a nanny.
I know.
Okay, get her some help.
Yes.
Get her a hairdresser. She should not have to do everything.
No.
You're balancing, nowadays, you need 2 incomes. We're balancing full-time job. You gotta, I heard this brilliant thing recently.
2 incomes is the hard part nowadays,
You gotta look like you don't have kids.
You look like you don't have a job. And you don't have kids. What is that?
I know, what is it?
It's you basically have to look like when you're in the boardroom, you don't have a kid that's at home, or there's a huge drama. Like, I often have when you're I'm in the boardroom, the school ringing me, and I'm like, it's the school,
When you're a mom, you need to be like you don't have a job.
Yes.
And there is a lot of, equality is improving, but there's a lot of equality to go. And, for years it was like the society that dictated to us was like, look at these excellent moms at home, being so glamorous and beautiful and doing it all and being perfect. Stop telling women that they can and should do all that.
No, because they can't.
Start supporting. Start like...
We don't have the village either anymore. I mean, Michelle Obama says it perfectly. Stop pretending you can be a badass career woman. I've been there.
Okay.
And pretend that you're going to be an awesome wife, friend, daughter and mom, because you just literally, all of the stuff drops.
You can't be all of those things.
Sure, you just get a ton of money and a nanny.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
so
you can do it all if you have a ton of money.
When we're applauding people, applaud women in general, right? Because like, playing fields are not yet even.
No, and the pay parity, let's not even go there. How do you treat yourself, Jenny Dixon? Our final question to kind of leave us on. Like, how do you treat yourself? Are you the kind of woman who fannies off to a spa for the day? I don't think that is you. Is it about creating? I love that you've written a script. Is it a glass of wine with friends? Is it just being with your gals and getting down and dirty on the floor and playing with them? What is it that fills you with the kind of when you need to let loose? Because I think 2 kids, sleep time, you were talking about putting them down last night, you were whispering on the phone to me.
Yes.
Crash. How do you get a break?
I like all those things you mentioned.
Great.
I guess it's probably 2 spheres. I like the quieter side of me. I did it just before I came as well. I'm sitting in a clean living room or a clean home, decorated how I love it, peacefulness. And I have a cup of strong tea which I never used to drink, but now I drink it because I love caffeine now.
Yeah.
I drink a cup of strong tea and something healthy and delicious, right? Like an omelette and spelt bread toast or something. I have that and a little treat after. And I watch Love Island for 15 minutes. And I laugh, or I watch Ginny and Georgia, or I watch, something a Hallmark movie, and I watch something that makes me smile and laugh for 15 minutes, charges me. Mm-hmm. And then the other side of me is I like to travel myself. So at Easter, I went to Marbella. And I do my fitness, and I do my writing, and I do my meditation, and I do my swimming. I swim in the sea, and I kind of switch off. I'll take a few pictures, but I won't post till later. And I'll switch off for 3 days by myself to charge my batteries. So as I can come back and I can be a mom to the full of my battery charge, and I can be an actor to the full of my battery charge, and I can be a working mom in an autism unit to the full of my battery charge. And I go to London, I do acting workshops, and I meet people, and I have friends there. So and I went to Sweden there as well. So I love to travel by myself. That's how I charge my batteries. Either simple, cup of tea in Love Island, or that.
I could spend all day with you. I knew that you were going to bring it, right? I knew that you had a lot of energy, but that you were special and soulful. I didn't know every single part of the puzzle, and I'm getting bits more. I think we could do another one with you down the line. But Jenny Dixon, you are one badass, formidable woman. And Bella and Capri, you're lucky.
Thank you. You're so lovely. Thank you so much.
To all my gorgeous listeners, because every parent deserves peace of mind, I'm thrilled to share that this episode is brought to you in partnership with Optimal Follow-On Milk, the #1 follow-on milk brand in Ireland. Optimal Follow-On Milk is a product you can trust. It's specially designed to support babies' growth and development, as it contains calcium and vitamin D, which contributes to the normal growth and development of bone. With over 50 years of dedicated breast milk research, Optimal Follow-On Milk brings science and care together to support your baby's journey. Optimal Follow-On Milk, your life, our science. If you like this episode, would you please rate it, subscribe and share it with others? This helps me get the guests that you want to hear.